हमें अपने मन को हमेशा संतुलित रखना है। इसी में हमारा आत्म विकास समाया हुआ है। वै मे सर्वं ओम। आत्मनि मे त्वम् ओम। स्मारे स्मारे ओम। चित्तं शामे शामे ओम। स्मराणि सोऽहं ॐ ॐ ॐ। शान्तं चिन्मयम् ॐ ॐ। तटस्थं केवलम् ॐ। स्मराणि शुद्धम् ॐ ॐ। So last session we saw how the kleshas have been termed as a dosha bija. All that is which is evil, bad, or which is undesirable has been termed as klesha, has been termed as dosha bija. And we traced the dosha bija to kleshas in previous sutra. So ultimately, if a human being wants to really evolve spiritually and he wants to experience something bigger, then he has to really work on the kleshas and overcome the kleshas. We also saw that that dosha bija can be destroyed only by vairagya. So we did not go in much detail of the vairagya, but then paravairagya is being talked about. Although the word vairagya only has been used, but what is referred to is paravairagya, because now the yogi has attained the highest state, and now only paravairagya will really give him that liberation which he is seeking. So that we saw. Now, how if the dosha bija share is not taken place, is not there, or it is dosha bija is still there, the seed of evil is still there, then what is the likelihood? What can happen to a yogi? Now, though that is being stated in the present sutra. So, present sutra is very important from the point of view of our practical life, because this sutra has got bearing on our day-to-day activities, our perceptions, our sense of ego, our sense of self which we have, and when that gets distorted, what can happen? All that is covered very beautifully in this uh, sutra. And another important feature of this sutra is that in all sutras you will find the sutra is stated, then Vyas Bhashya commentary is there, Vyasa's commentary, and then Aranya has commented on that. But in this sutra, Aranya has not commented at all. The sutra has remained as the sutra is there and the Vyas Bhashya is there. So this Vyas Bhashya of this sutra is very, very important. So I will request you all that if you get chance, if you have the book, kindly read it. Read it, because this particular Vyas Bhashya is very, very important, and it contains some fundamental principles on the basis of which yoga works. So from that perspective, this sutra is important, and Vyas Bhashya is also very important. So already we have seen that previous sutra talked about Kaivalya. Kaivalya is the ultimate in yoga. So now remaining five sutras, they are telling us about the happenings which can take place or which are taking place after attaining that state where the paravairagya is taking place, the highest knowledge has been attained, and yogi is as if, in a Jivan Mukta state. He is already in Jivan Mukta state, and even in that Jivan Mukta state, what are the possibilities? All that has been discussed in 5 sutras which are there, and they are important from the point of view of answering the opponents, because Indian philosophy developed with lots of arguments with each other. So some fundamental principles have been laid down in 5 sutras which we are doing now, Sutra 51 onwards. So Sutra 51 reads, Sthanya Upanimantrane Sangasmaya Karanam Punara Anasta Prasangat. स्थान्य उपनिमंत्रणे संगस्मया करणम पुनर अनिष्ट प्रसंगात. सो स्थानियों या उच्च स्थान प्राप्त देवों के द्वारा निमंत्रित होने पर फिर अनिष्ट संभव होने के कारण उसमें संग अथवा स्मय नहीं करना चाहिए. This is the Hindi meaning, and English meaning of the sutra is, when invited by the celestial beings, that invitation should not be accepted, nor should it cause vanity, because it involves possibility of undesirable consequences. So now here again, very, very fundamental principle is being laid down, that yogi has attained a very high state. He has got tremendous amount of knowledge, tremendous amount of power to do whatever he wants to do. Now with that kind of power and with that kind of, and knowledge always comes with purity. So he has attained a certain amount of purity. Now purity is always represented by sattva in yoga. The more a person is pure in nature, he will be treated as sattvic person. So instead of saying pure person, they will say he is a very sattvic person. So this sattvikta is the indication of purity. Now what is sattva? Sattva is lightness, illumination, harmony, peace, light, knowledge. All that is represented by sattva. When the sattva is there, knowledge is in abundance. Whatever one wants to know, if the person is sattvic, has a sattvic mind, whatever he desires to know, immediately he can come to know, because his mind is so sattvic that sattva will not be restricted. It will be like a big illuminating, torch or big searchlight, which can illuminate anything where the light is thrown. Mind becomes like that. So mind has attained that tremendous purity, and the power is also there as a result. The knowledge is power, because the more knowledge person has, the more control he has over the things. So these are the principles which are there. Now purification has attained such certain level, he will be tested. So in nature there is a principle, when we are wanting to experience something good, when we want to grow and evolve, and we have set our goals very high, and when we start working, then somehow it appears to be a law of nature that the nature will test us, it will challenge us. So for example, very mundane kind of example, if we try to understand, suppose if we are having this wrong habit of eating too many sweets. So this is a very common thing. We like to eat certain things. Some people like sweets. So if we have this desire to eat sweets, and someday we, under the influence of right thinking, reading something, we decide that no, henceforth I will control my urge to eat sweets. I will eat very less sweets. The moment he decides it, possibility that is the day on which somebody will come with lots of sweets at home. The moment you decide that I will not have sweets, maybe you will be offered lots of sweets on that day. That very day it will happen. It is a very common experience. Anything which we decide that I will not do it henceforth, or I will abstain. Now nature, as if wants to test our resolve. Whether we are really sincere in our resolve, then nature will offer us some opportunities or some kind of temptations. This is a kind of temptation nature provides. The moment we decide to do something right, then nature will provide us temptation of breaking that vow. Nature will provide us some kind of circumstances, situations where we'll be kind of forced to really compromise on that. And once we fail, then again we are back to square one. whatever progress we had done, whatever progress we have decided for ourselves, that is getting restricted. So this appears to be the law of nature which is governing, and in spiritual world it is particularly so. So there are several instances, in Indian mythology, if you read Ramayana, Mahabharata, and if you read other scriptures, even the Puranas, if you read, you will find n number of examples where the rishis and munis and yogis have attained some high state of mind, and they are tempted, they are challenged, they are questioned, and they are tested. So this appears to be the norm in spiritual world also. So there are several instances. A few we can talk about it a little later. But here this sutra is trying to tell us about this fundamental principle which is there. So when yogis have attained that kind of state, naturally he will be tested. So nature, maybe God is testing, maybe nature is testing, whatever. He will be tested. So now, uh, for that, this sutra has described the four kinds of yogis. So we have heard about the types of yoga, various kinds of hatha yoga is there, bhakti yoga is there, karma yoga is there, and different types of techniques which are there. But the types of yogi, how many types of yogi, according to the level of development, they have been talked about in this sutra. So four kinds of yogis have been talked about, and the technical names also have been given as Prathama Kalpika, that is the first type of yogi, Prathama Kalpika. Now, who's Prathama Kalpika yogi? Who has seriously started working on himself, who has seriously started working on the path of yoga. He's progressing on the path of yoga. And now, as he's working, he's finding that lot of knowledge is coming to him. His perceptions are getting purified. His mind is becoming sharp. He's becoming more sattvic. He's understanding more. So all, even the powers which are related to this higher knowledge, they have started kind of dawning on him. He's able to see that these powers are visible to me. He's experiencing certain development. Now that will be the first kind of yogi, that is known as Prathama Kalpika. The second one is known as Madhu Bhumika, or the Siddhi which is attained by this second type of yogi is known as Madhumati. So Madhu Bhumika yogis are those who have really attained some kind of development. Now here we have to understand, earlier we have talked about bhumis. What are bhumis? Bhumis are the habitual states of mind. Suppose during the day, if our minds are all the time agitated, all the time running here and there, never stable, never steady, lots of thoughts are there, mind is not able to focus. Even when we are required to concentrate, we are not able to concentrate. Now, that kind of bhumi has been described as a Shipta bhumi. So Shipta bhumi means agitated mind. Now why it is called bhumi? Bhumi means ground. Bhumi means ground. So why it is called ground? Why it is called bhumi? Because that kind of mind is there. That kind of fertility is there in mind where the stability is not there. All the time the mind is disturbed. So like in the fields, there are fields where we can grow rice. There are fields where we can grow some fruits, and there are some grounds where nothing can grow, or only the weeds grow. So different grounds are there where the productivity of certain things depend on the quality of the ground. So a agitated state of mind, or it is such a bhumi where nothing worthwhile can grow. Yoga cannot grow there. Yoga cannot find strength in such a mind, because person may try, but very soon he loses interest, he gets distracted, so he is not really able to attain some higher state of concentration, some better state of being, he is not able to attain. So now such a bhumi, now here Madhu Bhumik is that bhumi where the yogi has attained tremendous amount of growth, and he is stable there, he is stationary there. So which is that bhumi which he has attained? It is known as Ritambhara Prajna. So he has attained such a state where he is always connected to truth. He is not subjected to getting wrong kind of notions. wrong perceptions. He's always connected with the truth. What is the reality? Now, such a state of yogi is known as Madhubhumi. And third is Prajna Jyoti. Prajna Jyoti is that state where the yogi has attained mastery over the bhutas and indriyas, a state further than Ritambhara. He is now master of bhutas. He has got tremendous amount of power. So, like the one which we talked about in Sutra 49, and in Sutra 48, 47, we talked about Indriya Jaya. 44, we talked about Bhuta Jaya. So 44, Bhuta Jaya, 47, Indriya Jaya. And the mastery over these, the yogi who has got mastery over these, he will be termed as Prajna Jyoti. So Prajna has arisen in him, and but that Prajna is still devoid of the ultimate Prajna. So he is at the third category, at the third stage. And the fourth stage is known as Atikranta Bhavaniya. Again, Sanskrit term, technical term, Atikranta Bhavaniya. So he has attained the highest possible. So now this state is like a Jivan Mukta state. So where only he has to take the plunge. So he has mastered all the seven prajnas which have been talked about in Sutra 27, 27, 27, 26, 27 of chapter 2. They talk about Sapta Prajna, Tasya Saptadha Pranta Bhumi Prajna. Seven type of ultimate insights are attained by this yogi, and he gets established in that prajna. Prajna is something which is attained and which remains. So, in ordinary circumstances, whatever we know, at the crucial time, we may lose sight of it. We may forget it. We may not be able to apply it. But in case of a prajna, once a person has attained prajna, in any critical moment also, the prajna will not leave him. It will be always with him, and he can make use of it in any critical moment for his advantage, for his rescue. So that kind of attainments, now this fourth kind of yogi has attained. So after describing these four states of yogis, the Vyas Bhashya says that in case of the yogi who has attained Madhubhumika, that is Madhumati stage, immediately he will be tested. So the testing begins right at the beginning, but then the seed of evil, it continues till the end. There's a possibility. Last time we talked about 5,000 years old seeds which were found in the pyramids. And when they sowed it in the earth and right amount of moisture and heat was given, the seeds germinated. So these kleshas or dosha bija which we have, the fault which we have, it is like that. For many years, it may remain dominant, it may remain dormant, and it may be dominant by the positive kind of thoughts, by the concentration, by good states of mind. But that is not a guarantee that it is gone forever. It is there. It is lurking behind this powerful mental states. And as soon as the opportunity is there, it will come forth and it will take charge. So that fear is always there. So now, in case of this second kind of yogi, Madhubhumik, Vyas Bhashya says that when yogi reaches Madhubhumika stage, his mind becomes sattvic and pure. At this stage, his purity is checked and challenged by way of temptation from various quarters. Which are these quarters? It can come from any area. And normally, when our opponents are there, and if the opponents know us very well, they know what are our weaknesses. So if they want to strike, where they will strike? They will strike at the weakest part of our being, weakest part of our personality. Same way, it appears that nature also does that. So the weakest part of his personality may be hit and tested. He may be invited by higher beings like devas and offered great honor and respect. He may be offered unusual gifts. He may be tempted by beautiful apsaras and beautiful fairies. Or if it is the female yogi, same applies in her case. It will be the beautiful devas which will be tempting. So all these possibilities are there. And there's a very beautiful passage in the Vyas Bhashya which is worth reading here. So I think at this juncture, I will just read that passage to you. So the celestial beings residing in high regions, noticing the purity of the intellect of those who have attained unalloyed truth, Madhumati, Madhubhumika stage, try to invite them by tempting them with enjoyments available in their regions in the following manner. O great soul, come and sit here and enjoy yourself. It is lovely here. Here is a lovely lady. This elixir prevents death and decay. Here is a vehicle which can take you to the skies. The trees which fulfill all wishes is here. This is the holy river Mandakini, and here are the perfected Siddhas and the great seers, beautiful and obedient nymphs, supernormal eyes and ears, body of adamantine strength, all are here. You have earned all these by your virtues. Come, take all these. All this is everlasting, indestructible, undying, and loved by deities. So imagine when a person is tempted by these kind of things, and we have seen, in ordinary life, lot of most of us will, fall prey to the temptations. So yogis also tested that way, but the temptations are of highest order, as we see, even the great devas, the deities. So, for example, they may be, tempted by heavenly uh, objects, heavenly beauty, heavenly objects of pleasure, unrestricted amount of pleasure. So all that will be offered to yogi. Now, when tempted in this way, the yogi should not fall prey to these temptations. He should steer clear of such temptations and contemplate thus. So, in what manner the yogi has to contemplate at that time? And this is applicable to yogi, and this is applicable to even all of us. I gave you the example, very mundane kind of, simple kind of example. Suppose we have decided not to eat sweets, or we have decided not to indulge in some people smoke and they decide I'll not smoke. Some people drink a lot, so they may decide I will not drink. So in various ways, a person may try to give up bad habits or give up something which is weakening him. Now that time he will be tempted. So like these devas are tempting the yogis. The person may be tempted by so many other beings. So now when such a temptation is offered to yogi, then how the yogi should think, that has been stated here. How the yogi, what should be the thinking of yogi at this time? I'll read the passage from the Vyas Bhashya also, but something I had written: baked and burned by the flames of cycles of birth and death, somehow I have attained the light of yoga, which destroys the darkness of afflictions. These temptations and offerings are antagonists to the light of yoga. Why should I again get caught into the vicious cycle of birth and death and become fuel for the ever burning fire of pain and misery? He may even address the tempters, so those who are tempting him. To them also he can address them, and he tells them that whatever you are offering me, I don't want it. Kindly keep it for yourself and you enjoy. And I pray to God, I pray that you are going through all the good experiences, and you will attain the highest well-being. So for their well-being he prays, and at the same time he denies these temptations. He doesn't accept these temptations. That is how his approach should be. And if he is accepting any of these, then immediately there will be a fall from that high state, and there will be possibility of undesirable consequences. So what are these undesirable consequences? Undesirable consequences have been termed as punar anista prasangat, punah anista prasangat. He may again have to go through the past pains and sufferings, so he may fall back and he may suffer. And this is very similar to what we have discussed in chapter 2, in the Sutra 33 and 34, where we talk about this Pratipaksha Bhavana. So that kind of thinking has to be generated in yogi's mind. So he has to be always connected to the truth. He has to always connected to the higher reality, higher awareness. And through this awareness, through this sattvic logic, he has to fight with the temptations which nature is providing, and he has to overcome that. Otherwise, every likelihood is there that he will be facing some bad consequences. And suppose if he has been able to stop himself from getting tempted, many times it happens. We feel, when we have been able to do something fantastic, something usually we are not capable of, something which we think we were not able to do, and we are able to do it, then we feel a lot of joy, we feel happy, and we feel justified in that. And there's nothing wrong when we are able to prevent some behavior which is undesirable. Then we feel happy that I could succeed in controlling myself, I could control my thoughts, I could control my mind, I could resist from doing this, I could abstain from doing this. Now these kind of thoughts come naturally to us. But here a warning has been given in Vyas Bhashya to the yogi. He says, when you are able to give up that temptation and you are able to reject the offers made by the divine beings and the divine, sources, all sources, then that time you should not even feel proud that I am able to do this. See, I've been able to do that. And you should not even smile at that time as saying that, look, I am being invited by, I have attained such greatness, I have become so great that these higher beings are calling me, inviting me, and they are offering me the most fantastic things in the world. So even that kind of smile, even that kind of thought, egoistic thought that you attained something very big, that can also be a cause of downfall. So see, the warning is so deep here. So the warning is, you have succeeded in warding off the temptation. You have succeeded in putting off those dangers. But even then, you should not feel too proud of it, because this proud is the ultimate problem. So now here we have to understand that all the doshas which have been, now you see, if we look at the examples which we can talk about in case of great yogis, we find that scriptures, I told you, they are full. One of the very important example is of Narad Muni in Ramayana. There's a beautiful passage where the Vishnu is testing, because Narad Muni acquires little egoistic tendencies and he feels very proud, and he feels there's no worshipper of Vishnu like him in the world. That thought crosses his mind, and he thinks that I am the greatest worshipper and bhakta of Vishnu. When just this thought comes in his mind, Vishnu understands that now he needs to learn a lesson. And then the story goes that, a lot of temptations are there, and then Narad falls for it. And when he goes through very bad experiences, then he really becomes aware. So there are consequences. Another example is very much relevant today and very much known to most of the people. Maybe the Ramayana example Narad example may not be known, but Buddha's example is very much known to the world. And we know that a major portion of the population in the world follows Buddhism. They follow the teachings of Buddha. So they say that when Buddha was about to attain the highest, enlightenment, before before Gautama became Buddha, he was tempted. And the final battle which was there, it has been very beautifully described in the life history of Buddha. How the Mara, Mara can be termed as a Kleshas, Mara can be termed as Avidya, Mara can be termed as the Maya of Vedanta. Vedanta talks about Maya, Yoga talks about Avidya, Buddha talks about Avidya, but Mara is also there in Buddhism. So Mara is testing Buddha. And all kinds of temptations have been given to Buddha. And when he is able to overcome all those temptations, that is the time he attains liberation. That is the time he attains Buddha. Then he becomes Jivan Mukta. Then he is called Buddha. Till that time, he was never called Buddha. He was Gautama. Gautama became Buddha when he attained that enlightenment. And before attaining that enlightenment, he was tempted, he was tested. The similar kind of test which is being talked about in the Vyas Bhashya. So at such level also, even the highest attainment level also, nature will test the individual and his readiness and his vairagya. So now, when we talk about this dosha bija, which is the dosha bija? Ultimately, we have to understand one very the essential message of Sutra is very practical and very important. What is that dosha bija? It is there in all of us. We all have this dosha bija. And this dosha bija may raise its hands and it may take charge of our mind and it may create problems for us. Often it might be creating problems for us, but we may not be aware of it. So, what is that? Now, all the five kleshas are dosha bija. Avidya, Asmita, Rag, Dvesh, Abhinivesh. These are five in number, but these five are very, very generic in nature. So, for example, when we talk about Abhinivesh, Abhinivesh can give rise to so many negative emotions, which modern psychology would like to name. So, if we go according to modern psychology and we try to name what are the negative emotions we are suffering from, maybe all kinds of negative emotions are there in us. So, for example, if we take the example of Abhinivesh, what is Abhinivesh? Abhinivesh means clinging, holding on, tenaciously holding on to something. Abhinivesh also means fear. Abhinivesh also means resistance to change. Abhinivesh also means obsession, kind of getting caught into something and not able to get free from that. So any kind of persistent obsession, that is also. So Abhinivesh, one word can give rise to so many negative emotions, so many negative personality traits. So this is the dosha bija. Same way Dvesha. Dvesha is dislike. Generally speaking, Dvesha is dislike. But dislike of what? Now, when dislike is there, the resentment is there. There's a kind of resistance is there. There's a kind of desire to hit back, or even getting angry, little resentment, little irritation, or great anger, or even rage. So rage, mild anger, little resentment, little resistance, all that will fall under the category of dvesha. Same way raga. Raga is attachment. We may like, little liking might be there, affection might be there, or maybe it is deeper liking. It could be love, or it could be obsession. It could be infatuation. So raga can take various shades of attachments. Attachments are of various kinds, various shades. They are in different proportion. Person may become so obsessed with some individual that he may become blind to the reality. Or when somebody falls in love, they say when somebody falls in love, now this is biologically proven, huh? This is biologically proven that when a person is in love, his brain, it gets severely affected. How severely it gets affected? When a person is in love, the critical thinking part of his brain gets stopped. It gets, kind of obstructed. It doesn't work. So the person's whole brain is not working. Only that emotional part of the brain which is connected with the love, only that is working. Now imagine if a person is in such a state, what kind of perception? He will only see his object of love, nothing else. Nothing else matters to him. He's obsessed with that. So these various shades of attachments are there in the raga. And then comes asmita, ego. All this is there because ego is there. All this is there, all these negative emotions are there because the ego is there. So ego has been termed as the ultimate dosha bija. And we all have ego. And that ego has always harassed us, troubled us, worried us, created problems for us. Maybe we know it or maybe we don't know it. Maybe we want to admit or we don't want to admit it. We may not have thought about it or we may have thought about it. Those who have thought about it, they will understand that what role ego can play in our day-to-day experiences and our activities, our thinking, our relationship, our actions, all are affected by the ego consciousness. So ego has been identified as a dosha bija, and behind this ego is very easy to detect if we pay attention. but asmita is still subtle, which is behind this ego. So avidya is behind this asmita. Ego is asmita klesh, and behind asmita klesh is the avidya, the wrong notion, the wrong perception. So now when we are talking about this, uh, the ego is like a dosha bija, which can at a very high state also it can create problems for us. Now the beautiful thing or the good thing is that it is not only the Yoga Sutra which are talking about ego. If you will look in every part of the world, they have talked about this ego consciousness, which is really problematic. And a person is having this ego in the form of kleshas, his perception is always wrong. And then as a result, he is always suffering. So in terms of spiritual disciplines, if we look at it, yoga calls it kleshas. In Buddhism, avidya is the main thing. Avidya gives rise to vijnana, that vijnana where the ego consciousness is. So once the avidya is there, the ego will follow, and then the raga will come, then the dvesha will come, then the abhinivesha. Vedantin, they talk about Shadaripu, Krodh, Lobh, Mod, Moh, Mad, Matsar. So in that, Man is also there. Man is the ego. So this is even Jainism, same things are there. They also talked about the kleshas. If we go to Islam, if we go to, philosophically, when we talk about Islam, we often talk about Sufis. Sufi dervishes, like nowadays, lot of people are aware of these Sufis. Rumi, Hafiz, Al Mansur, Khwaja, Moinuddin, so many mistakes are there. Like we have Shah Latif, we have Sarmat Shahid. All these Sufis, they have talked about one thing. They say that the biggest obstacle in the path of attaining nearness to God is, they use the technical word nafs, Nafs, nafs. Now, which is the biggest nafs? These nafs are like kleshas. These nafs are like shadaripu. So they say which is the biggest nafs is that there is a false identity created in our mind which is separating us from God, which is taking us away from God. So the Sufis will say all the work which Sufis do or the Bhaktas do, they remove this false identity of ego which is there between them and God. So that is their method. So they are working on their nafs. They are working on their klesha, which is their dosha bija. This is what is the dosha bija for Sufi. So they are working towards eliminating that nafs so they can attain the godhood. They can go near God. That is the attempt. Same way, if we look at Christianity also, when we say, they believe that before Adam ate apple in the Garden of Eden in heavens, there was perfect peace and everything was fine. Everybody was in kind of heaven. So the problem started when Adam ate the apple. Now, what we can understand by Adam eating the apple. What must have transpired then? What changes must have taken place in the mind of Adam at that time when he ate the apple? And by the way, the Christian theologians, they consider this eating apple as connected with the knowledge. So some kind of mental state must have changed in Adam, because of which he got separated from God. Till he had not eaten the apple, he was very close to God. The moment he ate the apple, things changed. So this eating of apple was like, the avidya. It is the first sin. In Christianity, they will call it first sin committed by human beings. That is the first sin. And in somehow, beautifully, if we look at the yoga, the first sin we commit is avidya. If the avidya is there, then all other things will come. So somewhere this avidya or this dosha bija has been talked about. No comparative study has been done. But then I just, whatever I feel, when I think about all this, I find that there's a lot of common ground. And that is why, this dosha bija is there. It is a common heritage and property and weakness of human race. No matter where we are, whether we are in any part of the world, we have got the same kind of weaknesses. Whether we are in America, we are in Japan, we are in Singapore, or we are in Australia, we are in UK or India. Human beings are same. So they have got the same kind of weaknesses and same kind of problems they face. So this is the common heritage we have. Now, that is why, this principle which is stated in this sutra is a kind of universal principle. So this testing part is very important. And as long as the ego is there, ego can flare up anytime. So this sutra is talking about that. And, when I was thinking about this, uh, one example came to my mind. There are some stories like, and these, I told you about Narad Muni. So Narad Muni, he thinks that he has become a great bhakta, and nothing can now really shake him. He's the greatest bhakta in the world. That ego comes, then immediately what happens? Uh, Vishnu is wanting to test it, so he creates a Maya Nagari, a false city, and in that city there's a lot of beauty. There's a king and there's a daughter of the king. So Narad is passing through that city. All this is happening in the Maya world of Vishnu is testing. It is like a dream world where this Narad Muni is traveling, and he enters this city, and he is really surprised at the beauty of the city. And Narad is known everywhere. So when he enters the city, the king is informed that Narad has arrived, he has come, arrived. So king invites him, and then king tells him that, see, you are a great rishi, and I have got a very beautiful young daughter who's about to get married, and I want you to see her and tell her future. Read her horoscope. What will be her life like? Whom she will marry. So all that I want to know, because you are expert in that. So kindly see the horoscope of my daughter and just tell me. So now he calls his daughter, and the moment Narad Muni sees the daughter, he's totally stunned, and he's totally, fallen in love with that girl. So now he's not able to think clearly. His mind is obsessed with love. So somehow he wants to get married to that girl. So whatever comes to his mind, he tells to the king, and then he is now planning how to get married to that daughter of the king. So he says, now whom do I know? I am a sadhu. All the time, carrying that singing instrument, and all the time traveling in the world. I am a very ordinary looking person. So God, Hari, or Vishnu is the most beautiful. So let me go and ask Vishnu to temporarily give his form to me, or his beauty to me. So he goes to Vishnu, and Vishnu is knowing what is happening. So Narad Muni is requesting Vishnuji, please give me your beauty, or please give me your form. He uses the word form. So please give me your form so that I can get married to that girl. So now Vishnu wants to teach him a lesson. So he said, okay, you will get my form. Go. And then very gladly, very joyously, this Muni is going again back to the king. And the king has arranged for a Syomvara, because he wants to get the daughter married. So many kings have come there. And then he finds that amongst those kings, even Vishnu is also sitting. Even Vishnu is also sitting. But then he says, because I have got Vishnu form, so definitely this girl will get married to me and she will select me. So, in Ramayana, they have beautifully given that two of the Ganas of Shiva, they are also in that meeting. And they recognize, they look at this Narad Muni, and they start laughing. And he's not able to understand why they are laughing. But then somewhere takes place, the girl comes with the garland in her hand, and then she takes round of the entire meeting place and all the people who are present. And very slowly she moves towards Vishnu, and she puts the garland in Vishnu's head. Now Narada gets disturbed, and he is very sad. So he starts abusing, he starts, saying bad things for Vishnu. He said, I can't trust you. I asked you for this form, and I thought that this girl will get married to me. And then these two Ganas of Shiva, they start laughing, looking at him. So he's little surprised. And he walks out, and then suddenly he sees his own face in water. So when he, looks down into the well, he's looking like a monkey. So he's uglier than what he was originally, or what the most ordinary look which he must have thought he has. So he has become monkey. Now that is the time he curses Vishnu. He says, "You have made me a monkey, and one day this monkey will come to rescue. Monkey will guide you. Monkey will help you one day. That will happen." You and then he walks little ahead. What he sees, Vishnu is sitting there, and that girl was nothing else but Lakshmi herself, sitting next to Mahavishnu. And then he comes to senses, and then he apologizes, and then he says that what a nice way of telling me not to be egoistic and not to think. And this moha or delusion, see, this delusion can take charge of our mind at any time. If the ego is there, we can get deluded anytime. We can get kind of infatuated, attracted, tempted in any direction. That possibility is there. So that was proven to this rishi. Now, this is a beautiful example where whenever these egoistic tendencies are there, God will test us or nature will test us. It happens. Another example, very famous story is there in Indian scriptures. Nahush, King Nahush. King Nahush was such a great pious soul that he attained kingdom of entire earth. He was ruling entire earth, and he ruled in such a nice manner that he became fit for attaining the that Indrahood, the position of Indra. Indra is the ruler of heavens. So he attained Indrahood, and the original Indra, because of some of his faults, there's a big story there. We'll not go into that. So he attains Indrahood and he goes and sit on the throne of Indra. So now he is the master of the universe. He is the ruler of the earth. He is ruler of the devas. So all the three worlds, three heavens, he is ruling. And it so happens that the original Indra is now scheming against him because he wants to attain. There's a lot of politics in devas also, which is surprising. But these are stories which are teaching us a lot. So the original Indra, along with other devas, they scheme against the Nahush, and they say somehow he should be brought down so that I can attain my own kingdom and I can attain my own throne. So he tells few devas to go and tempt Nahusha. And what way to tempt Nahusha? Tell Nahusha that you have attained Indra. Now you are worthy, or you are the biggest or the most pious soul in the universe. So if you are Indra, then you should also get the Indra's wife as your wife. You should get married to Shachi. Shachi is the name of the Indra's wife. So now these devas go and tempt Nahusha. But Nahusha is very pious. Nahusha is very virtuous. So he says, see, look, all these thoughts are very bad and don't just share with me these thoughts. But then again and again they go on tempting him. They say, you are so great. They praise him. And when this kind of praise is there, it sometimes goes into head. So it does goes into the head of Nahusha, and Nahush starts thinking, "Arey, I'm such a pious person. I'm the most powerful deva in this universe. So why I can't marry an Indra's wife? I must marry Indra's wife." And then he offers. He sends a message to Shachi that I want to marry you. Now the scheming is done. Shachi is also part of that scheme. So Shachi informs Nahusha, I am ready to marry you, provided you come in a palanquin which is being carried by Saptarishi. So seven sages, seven most pious sages are there in the universe. Now these are all part of the Indian Hindu mythology. Many of you must be knowing it also. So provided you come in the palanquin which is being carried by Saptarishis and come to my house, then I will get married to you. So now says, what is there? What is big deal? I am the king of universe. I am the king of heavens. All Saptarishis have, all the stars have to follow me. All the devas have to, all energies are mine. So they have to follow me. So I command them to come to me and they take me. then he orders the Saptarishis to come and take him, carry him in the palki to the Shachi. So these Saptarishis come. Now, Saptarishis are the oldest rishis. See, those who have been following Indian mythology, read scriptures, you will know that Saptarishi, they are the names of seven stars which are there. Seven stars, the combination of seven stars. So Saptarishis are the oldest rishis in the universe. They are all very old. So when they are carrying the palki, they are walking very slow. Now this Nahusha is thinking, now I'll get married to Shachi. He is very egoistic. And in that process of thinking, he is getting restless. And he says, fast, fast, fast. So he's walking, he's asking these rishis to walk fast. And there is a, I think there's a Sanskrit word, if I remember correctly. He's using the word saripu, saripu, which means go fast, go fast. But that word also means snake. So in that process of shouting, go fast, his leg touches one of the Saptarishis. And in Indian thinking, our leg should not touch anybody. That is not considered to be good. So these rishis get annoyed. And one of the rishis whom the leg touched, he curses Nahusha and tells him, you are saying Saripu Saripu, you become a sarp, you become a snake and fall down on earth. And immediately Nahush loses the Indrahood, loses the throne of heaven, and immediately he falls on the earth and he becomes an ordinary snake. This is the story. This is a very important story telling us about what ego can do. When the ego goes in the head, then what can happen? And surprisingly, we all are subject to this ego. We only have to recall at what juncture of our life we have paid very dearly because of our egoistic tendencies, or how we have treated other people badly, how we have put other people down sometimes, how we have been overtaken by the sense of superiority, how our egos has played a role in breaking our relationships, disturbing us, creating a lot of relationship issue, even in the ordinary day-to-day activities. A egoistic person will always suffer. So this is a very practical thing, but we don't pay attention to it. We are always subject to this egoist, and this dosh beej is there in all of us. And Dr. Jaydev very beautifully he used to tell us, sometimes even the spiritual people, even the yogis, they suffer from a very subtle kind of ego. So what is that subtle kind of ego? Dr. Jaydev used to say, some people have ego of egolessness. So many yoga students, many yoga teachers you will find are suffering from this dosha bija, this malady, this problem, that they have very subtle form of ego, but then still it is ego. Subtle or gross. Gross ego will manifest in grosser form and create more problems. Subtle ego will create subtle problems for us, but it will create problem for us. So now this is something very, very practical, that understanding the ego asmita, asmita klesh. The more we are able to understand what we think of ourselves, either we are overestimating ourselves or we are underestimating ourselves. We are never at the proper ground of reality. We never have a correct understanding of our own selves. And perhaps that is the reason in Indian thinking they talk about self-understanding, self-knowledge. You have to understand yourself. That is the essential thing. And ultimately, Buddhatva is what? When one attains the reality, when one realizes the reality, when one knows the truth, that is what is Buddhatva. That is what is Nirvana. That is what is Mukti. Ultimately, that is the highest prajna. So when that highest prajna is attained, then person knows where he is and he will not be tempted by this. Otherwise, even at the highest level, there could be several examples, if we look at the stories we hear. And in our life also, we might have come across many instances where our known people, our acquaintances, our relatives, they must have gone through a lot of severe problems. Such a simple thing between relationship between husband and wife. Why there are issues? Mostly they are ego issues. If you really pay attention, if you really think about it deeply, most of the time the fights are because of the ego issues and not because the persons are not bad. See, the persons are individually, when you look at the person, both persons might be very, very good and very nice. But why there is a fight? Because of the ego issues. So this ego is a very subtle thing. Not it, we cannot really catch it easily. It is very deceptive. So ego, vanity, superiority complex in ordinary life creates so many problems for us. Often we fail to see the connection. Egoism is a very deceptive klesha. It makes us dance to its tune, and yet we are not even aware that we are dancing to its tune. We often deceive ourselves by falsely believing that we are egoless. As I told you, Dr. Jaydev's word must always be remembered, ego of egolessness. Sometimes people claim, Arey, I don't have ego. Now who's talking? One has to, so this becomes a big mockery. This becomes a big joke when a person says, I don't have ego. Then how you are surviving, how you are alive. So these are the questions which are there, but this needs to be, thought about very deeply. Now the question comes: if this is so, if we all have these kind of doshas, what is the remedy? The remedy is vairagya. Remedy is objectivity. Objectivity is the only remedy. Where objectivity is what? Objectivity is always remaining connected to the reality, always thinking objectively, correctly. And what is false has to be given up. One has to just, so not getting unnecessarily emotional about things and distorting one's perception, but thinking all the time in real terms. This is what, so vairagya. Now we talked about vairagya in previous sutra. They say only through vairagya dosha bija can be. That is why the ultimate step of which Buddha applied in his nirvana, in his Buddhatva. What was the ultimate step he applied? It was paravairagya. What yogis apply, it is paravairagya. So I have the power, I have the knowledge, but I don't want it. I just want to give it up. I don't want it. I want something better than this, because this is also temporary. This is also liable to give me some trouble in future. So I don't want this. So this kind of giving away or renunciations, in yogic language, it will be called supreme renunciation, paravairagya. So paravairagya is the technique through which one can, so just giving up something which is not really good for us, give it away. Just drop it. It is not for our benefit. It is not contributing to our well-being. We should not hold it to it unnecessarily. Just we should give it up. So that way, even sometimes we are not able to give up actions which are harming us because we are not having vairagya. We continue indulging in certain things which are creating more and more pain for us, but that we lack the objectivity of dropping it, understanding it. So this sutra is laying down a principle or telling us about something fundamental. If we try to apply it in our life, maybe lots of good changes are possible by understanding and applying this sutra. So like a person is engaging in too many activities. He's trying to please everybody. Now he can never succeed. What he will be doing, he will be creating pains for himself. So he has to drop these activities of pleasing everybody, running here, running there, and he has to focus on those things which are really good for him. So doctor tells that be like a surgeon, think like a surgeon. What is not needed, cut it down. And only what is necessary you should keep with you. So that goes for our day-to-day activities, that goes for whatever we think, whatever we do during the day. So every area of our life is really affected by this. Little longer today. So it's an important sutra, but so I thought maybe if there are questions, then quickly we can. There seems to be no questions, so we'll stop. Namaste, everyone. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, sir. You explained it so well, made it very
Yes, sir.
simple.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.